that I'm forced to go on the air 7 days a week. I, of course, have the standard show, 4 to 6 p.m. Central tomorrow, and the weekday show, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. But this is the moment the world wakes up. And the question is, what does the world do as it wakes up? So without further ado, guys, let's just put up that graphic for a minute. Then let's roll with this intro on Americanism, not globalism, that, again, the folks watching on Periscope won't be able to see. You can see it on the YouTube feed if you want to, and then we'll be live here. Again, I'm Alex Jones. Thank you for joining us. Here it is.
Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. Americanism, not globalism. Americanism, not globalism.
And you can just take me live about 10 seconds before. Just give me a thumbs up with the audio. Thanks.
Be over. We will
God,
no
give me the
surrender
strength to try to actually get through to people.
To the
Jesus.
false song of globalism.
They have gotten the political establishment and the media establishment to become pure, wanton henchmen of totalitarianism.
If you were a foreign power looking to weaken America, you couldn't do better than Hillary Clinton's economic agenda.
I think what the Chinese have done is really smart.
The skyscrapers went up in Beijing and many other cities around the world, while the factories and neighborhoods crumbled right here in Detroit.
It's all training us to accept less, lowering expectations, a post-industrial world, a new dark age. That's what the UN Biological Diversity Assessment 1996 calls for.
When we abandoned the policy of America first, we started rebuilding other countries instead of our own.
Not a world, Winston, that gets more beautiful and more technological and stronger. A world that gets uglier and stupider and more stunted.
That the government should allow Hillary Clinton to become president of the United States.
I voted for Hillary Clinton.
Well, I voted for Hillary. I guess I have to since I'm working for her as well.
You want an image of the future, Winston? It's a boot stomping on a human face forever.
Muslims are peaceful and tolerant people and have nothing whatsoever to do with terrorism.
Women are treated, discriminated against in all of these countries she took money against. Gays and lesbians are either executed or punished severely. They're mistreated. She claims to be their champion.
Don't look at me, Winston, and see the black circles around my eyes and see how ugly and weak I am, expressing myself and dying, and I torture people 18 hours a day, and I have a horrible life. That's the beauty of the satanic evil of the priest of power, ripping apart humanity. We're here to hurt humans. We're here to suck your guts out.
We now take you live to the Central Texas Command Center and the heart of the resistance.
Well, here we are. It's Saturday, March 11th, 2017. And we're doing a live feed here on YouTube and on Periscope and on some other feeds as well, just because I absolutely must come in here and cover the latest news and developments because it's just too important. It's too life and death. And if we weren't having a huge effect, I would still be in here 6-7 days a week, 18 hours a day, many days. But the fact that we're in a tectonic death battle with the globalists and the eugenicists, and that we have a very good chance of overturning the global scientific dictatorship and having a new, true golden age, a renaissance, it's the only fight worth fighting for. Now, 2015-16 were the years that humanity stirred. But clearly, 2017 is the year that humanity awakens, that the sleeper awakens. There are thousands of channels and tens of thousands of websites, really millions of websites. There are all these voices out there. But if you look at world events across this planet, not just here in the United States, you will notice that InfoWars and what we cover here, year after year, is what actually comes out years later and turns out to be true and accurate. Now, I wish I could take credit for that. No, I've only read what the establishment has said themselves. Here's one example, and I'm going to get into the huge news that's breaking. There's just a file of few of the stories we cover on air in the last few months about vaccines. And here are the inserts, I have them here, of major vaccines like measles, mumps, rubella, tetanus, the flu, you name it. And it says here, I've probably shown this particular insert that comes with the actual injection, with the bottle, with the ampule, with the vial, probably 30 times on air or more. And it says this will cause type 1 diabetes in many people. It will kill your pancreas. Then everybody wonders why they give their 18-month-old shots or their 3-year-old shots and suddenly they can't, deal with sugar and they tell you got type 1 diabetes. Yeah, it's genetic when you get hit with what they've put in this that many children get type 1 diabetes. Now that's just one little piece of info. If you want to go read the MMR insert for yourself, then do it. But I found, I'll give you a Merck & Co. insert from them saying that millions of kids get type 1 diabetes from the MMR shot. And it's like, I don't care. The football game's on. I get it. Because people have been put into a trance. Here's the influenza insert. But, I've covered so much of this over the years that I kind of get so close to it. But I just rattle off facts. I'm going to, in the next few weeks, with our whole crew, going to put out specific reviews of these inserts, scanned and blown up for you and highlighted. And I'm going to show you world leader statements going back 100 years, how they would use injections of vaccines with Trojan horse additives to control population, you name it. I'm going to show you a clip of Bill Gates saying vaccines are to reduce population with Sanjay Gupta on CNN in a moment. But before I do that, understand that we've entered a new age of massive censorship. Just this week, Twitter deleted a video and a posting we did that linked to a Bill Gates interview. So they're saying we can't even put links up. More and more they're saying a word like Disney will be illegal or uncivil, and that's copyright. I mean, this is a war on knowledge, a war on communication, just like colleges everywhere banning whiteboards. Somebody might write something that hurts somebody's feelings. That's saying, ban the writing of books. Someone might write something bad. That's not satire. We're not in some Kurt Vonnegut novel here. We're in the real world. So I've got about 300 articles here in front of me. A lot of it's breaking. A lot of it's connected into the larger issues. But here's the message I just want to get across right now to everybody tuning in for the first time. Anyone who's paid attention to media in the last 20 years knows that I've been all over the news and everywhere I could go telling people that your smartphone and your cable box and your smart TV is watching you and is listening to you, because the main business isn't even selling the TV for Samsung or Sony or Westinghouse or Apple or Google or Amazon. The main business, in fact, Buckley, do you mind grabbing me the Alexa robot little deal that I had that I covered on Friday? I want to show people that. They give you these little systems that you're supposed to put in your house, and then they listen to you. They watch you, and they then sell the data. And what's crazy is, Buckley, you mind going and grab me the Alexa robot that I covered on Friday? I forgot to tell you. Thanks. Yeah, I'll just take that. Thanks. Google, Facebook, Amazon, they're all coming out with their own little device that you order around, and you feel real powerful. You go, Alexa, and then you tell it to, buy dog food or whatever. The point is the thing's on all the time. The terms and services admit it's on all the time. And so this is just the rollout. We put up with it in our smartphones and computers doing it, and they would just deny it existed. And so now they're just coming out saying, okay, well, put these in every room for your convenience, but by the way, it's listening and watching you. Now remember, it's InfoWars that 18 years ago first broke that. I've been on air 22 years. So it took me 4 years in to learn about this. But that's a decade plus before even tech publications ever wrote about it. In the last, though, 6, 7, 8 years, it's been in major tech publications, and I would cover those, and they'd still have the news say, Alex Jones is crazy. Nobody's watching or listening to you. We don't have to plug it in. I just want to show them the device. Thanks. Now, the reason I'm raising this, because a lot of you are like, yeah, Alex, we already know this. I don't need it. I'm good. Thanks. I'm good. Thanks. I don't need to turn it on. I just want to show folks. I'm not here telling you something new about this. I'm only reminding you that we were warning you about this with the specifics 18 years ago, and we didn't fantasize that this was going on. We had the actual telecom, AT&T, Time Warner, high-level engineer, whistleblowers that were involved in the whole thing, okay? I told you 15 years ago, smart meters going in, first in California, were designed to manipulate your power prices, rip you off, dial into all your other wireless communications, steal the data, and then sell it to corporations and government. Just Friday, Eric Schmidt, of former Google head, now the head of a group called Alphabet, said, oh, we're dialed into everything, your appliances, everything. Big data's king. Governments will go to war for this. We're bigger than governments, and we can predict the future and control the future. Word for word, what I've been telling you for 15 years. I learned 15 years ago, or actually 18 years ago, but didn't report it on air until about 15 years ago, because when an engineer is telling you all this, it's a little hard to believe even when you have the documents. But once I saw it in play, I talked about it. So I'm done getting into all that old news. If you think a giant corporate agreement for these major corporations to have a race with government to put devices in your home that they advertise and sell to you, that openly track what you do, openly try to game your psychology, and openly try to algorithm to rip you off and to know more about you than you know about yourself, if they'll do that, what else will they do? Total war means you control the full environment, full spectrum dominance. And if you go back to the 1860s and the 1920s, and from the Galtons right through Aldous Huxley, right through Bertrand Russell, they all wrote books saying we're going to develop social control systems and put it in vaccines and claim it's for stopping disease. But the truth is, because of the Industrial Revolution and indoor water and hygiene, people aren't dying off like they should. You know, Malthus wanted that in the 1700s. And they quoted Malthus. They said, well, since Malthus is wrong, we've got to add stuff to dumb them down and kill them. So it's just a totally greedy, hateful thing they're doing. And then they're all over the news, meeting to discuss world population reduction and world government and how they're going to carry it out. World government, they said, didn't exist, has now been announced. The fact that world government's meant to reduce population and dumb people down, that's now all over the news. The fact that they want to end the nuclear family and confuse the sexual processes and create 100 new genders, that's now all over the news. And you guys can feel free whenever you want to throw up any of these articles. Yeah, there it is. Billionaires try to shrink world population. Report says. Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Ted Turner, Oprah Winfrey. I mean, I remember hearing about this 20 years ago. Now it's just out in the open. And then Bill Gates thinks you're so stupid. He goes on TV, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times. I know of over 10 times from PBS to CNN that Bill Gates goes on TV and says, take your vaccines, we need to reduce the population. In a TED TV, he put an equation up that showed the population going to 0, and the trendies all laughed because, let me tell you, they're in on the joke. Do you think any actual operatives at Microsoft or Google or Apple, do you think any of the officers in the military who are commissioned officers take any vaccines? They don't take any of them. That's the officer class pleasure. And they're told as long as they make everybody under them take it, they don't have to. And they're told about herd immunity. Oh, if you've been injected, you supposedly are covered, right? Why should everybody take it? Because They hate the military. They hate people that care about the country. They want to use you for their operations, then poison you and your family. And I've heard these stories my whole life. I've seen it in the news. Active duty couples, they demand extra shots for the kids because they don't want you having a kid. They want you in active duty. They want you dead. They want your kid dead. And they want you, once you get out of the military, to be dead. And that's the reality of this. People sit here and they hear this and they think I'm just saying all this stuff. You think I just say all this to play games? You think I told you 18 years ago that the damn Scientific Atlantic cable boxes were listening to you? And I broke one open on TV and showed you? You think I just dreamed it up? You think I just dreamed it up that Samsung 3 years ago said in its own 50-something page terms of service, we're watching you and listening and selling it to third parties, so watch what you say. They said, watch what you see. The psychology is, don't deny we're spying, because people like Matt Drudge and Alex Jones are exposing us. Just say, watch what you say in your own damn house. Oh, I was against the Iraq war. The left wasn't. Hillary was for it. The point is that on every front, we've been right. And that's why we're being censored. That's why we're being blocked. Because you know what they're really scared of? You know the big secret of Trump? Donald Trump isn't just wanting to make America free and open and have progress. He's not just a nationalist that kills their whole world government plan. He doesn't like big mega banks being tax exempt. He doesn't like one-sided screw jobs. He doesn't like the service economy being shut down where he makes his money from a self-serving position. And he knows if he can restore the republic and help free humanity, the name Trump will be platinum for 1,000 years. He's not a psychopath. He's not out to get you. He doesn't care if you're successful. He wants you to be. But here's the big secret, and I was told this by sources, I'll just leave it at that, high-level sources, that the Trump children, especially the sons, are aware of the eugenics program. We know they're daily listeners. They tweet our stuff all the time, but I'm going to leave it at that. That's not a secret. And so, yes, that's why they say, Trump is infected by Alex Jones. Oh, my God, we've got to kill him. He's not infected by Alex Jones. Donald Trump here's a show about a $2 billion, a year secret vaccine fund to cover up all the vaccine damage. He goes and says, is that true? Finds out it is and goes, what the hell is going on here? I told you he'd speak about God and the covenant, bringing God back in his inauguration. I told you he'd talk about secret life extension technologies and freeing us from disease. Oh, yeah, they're giving us the diseases, folks. They can cure almost all of it, almost all cancer, everything. They've got it all. But instead, they're busy hitting us with them. Understand, this isn't rhetoric. This isn't talk, okay? I'm not sitting here telling you that they're putting cancer viruses in the vaccines. That's 1920s, 1930s technology. That was in the white papers in the 20s when all major medicine was taken over by the Rockefeller family in the U.S. That's mainline history. Dr. Blaylock, countless other brain surgeons, you name it, on about it. They never ask what's causing all the disease. They look for a treatment of it to suck the money out of you. These people are the most psychopathic, genius people we've ever seen, but they're totally turned over to evil. And Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is all a Rockefeller, Ford Foundation, Carnegie Endowment, IBM eugenics program. And listen, if you do anything for you and your family, don't decide you're small and can't beat this, or don't just say, oh, this is crazy bull. Go look up IBM and the Nazis and IBM and eugenics and IBM and the Genome Project and the latest Watson, not just Thomas Watson, but the head of the genome saying black people aren't humans and basically Hispanics aren't. We should have a world government and kill everybody. He was the head of Cold Springs Harbor till 6 years ago, had to step down. Do you understand? I'm telling you 50% of the truth. Oh, yeah, it's always worse than I can even tell you. My only sin is I can't come up with verbiage and words to come up with the full magnitude of injecting our best soldiers with time-released cancer viruses and then having huge actuaried programs to test killing certain numbers of them, getting rid of people. This is all public execution done through the health project of the health departments that were set up in the 1910s, 1920s all over Europe and the United States. Germany had the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute set up in the 20s by the United States government, U.S. Army intelligence, British intelligence, and the Rockefeller Endowment. That's public. Everything I'm telling you is public. I'm telling you 1920s info. They'd already discovered by 1905 at the University of, well, I mean the major ones, Harvard, the Royal Institute, the Royal Commissions, the major organizations in London, they already knew that almost all cancer was viral and was autoimmune when your body gives up and it lets the virus replicate. That's all warts are, is a benign virus, benign cancer. But you get warts that keep growing, it's called cancer. It's the same damn thing, folks. And that's 1920s perfected super cancer. They can put into a crystal form, dormant, goes into your nerves and releases later. That's patented 1920s. Yeah, there it is. CDC admits 98 million Americans were given cancer viruses. Yeah, and that was just, my grandmother, who just died a month ago, lived a hellish life off and on since the 1950s when she got her second polio shot. And they said, no, this is the strain you got. And she got it 1 week after, was paralyzed, almost in an iron lung, went on crutches the rest of her life. She's like, oh, Alex, don't attack. The nurses didn't mean it. They didn't mean it. I tried to get her to go on air about 2 years ago. She's, oh, they didn't mean it. Yeah, they gave me polio, but they didn't mean it. I'm not going on air. Just so sweet, letting them wreck her life and have her on crutches in a wheelchair till she died a month ago. Just a loving group of people. So, what is it that Trump is aware of? Trump isn't perfect. He just doesn't want to inject newborn babies with cancer viruses, and they don't stop there. Sterilants. They've got all sorts of adjuvants that accelerate toxins in the food and the water to cause brain damage. The IQ's down 20-something points since a kid born in 1950. Just look it up. That's the Smithsonian Institute, you name it. The cancer rates are up 10,000+% in little kids, 3,000% in adults. Life expectancy's dropping, infant mortality's way up. And a group of psychopathic killers are sitting there testing killing you. It doesn't matter if Harvard comes out and says, okay, fluoride's causing brain damage. It stays in. Doesn't matter if it comes out the vaccines are having additives added to them on purpose to do this. The vaccine makers have been given immunity. Doesn't matter if it turns out that the elite in Europe and Germany and the United States get special vaccines that are, quote, clean and virus-free. You can Google that and look it up. It doesn't matter because they, in peer pressure, you send your kids to the school, they pressure you to take more shots. It was 3 or 4 shots 30 years ago. Now it's 50-something shots. Now they want hundreds of shots, and it goes on and on and on. And then we see the so-called opposition by people that mean well, like Robert Kennedy Jr., and he wants to have a study done. There's a bunch of studies already done about how mercury is causing the mercury is only an adjuvant. The mercury is there to cause an electrochemical response with the other nanotech. And they admitted like 10 years ago, they're putting out flu shots that have actual nanotech artificial flu in it. I mean, the technology's not 2017, it's like 2050, okay? I mean, just what I know is established, admitted, ancient stuff. I mean, God help us. Just God help us. Your very instinct tells you you're being killed, but the proof is just overwhelming. How long will you put up with this? Just say no, break with it. And that's the good news. People everywhere are saying no. But we're having debates about whether large dosages of mercury, the most destructive heavy metal electrochemically in the neurons of the brain, just search engine, University of Montreal or others, electron microscope footage of mercury and neurons. Other heavy metals just hit them and then one dies. It causes an electrochemical chain reaction between the neurons and it'll blow up just entire areas of the brain. It actually explodes. You can go to video, it'll show it to you. But again, being informed is now evil. Knowing what you're talking about is now evil. Look what mercury does. 1 micron, just total death. And that's not even the powerful. And they've got shots of neurons, and then it shows the chain reaction. Then it shows lead, arsenic, just not even 1/100th response. Just type in electron microscope, mercury brain, neurons. It'll come up. See, and again, I don't even feel worthy to be bringing this information. I mean, this is all completely admitted. World government, the plan to end men and women as we know it, brainwash everybody, drug everybody, phase us incrementally in to world population collapse so that elites can just run around like gods. And they're talking about only a few million people being left. And that's in their more internal documents. They tell their own minions, oh, we're going to kill 80%. And the average university professor gets on a power trip. They're like, okay, we're going to kill 80%. We've got to brainwash them, drug them, dumb them down, incrementally poison them more and more, get them used to their neighbors dying, half the kids on the block having cancer, just kind of normalize it all. Yeah, there's the one. There's a nice little neuron. Let's put a little mercury on it, see how that goes. And so they've got to just normalize. What you're hearing is, this is all admitted. Just like the cameras and the microphones are listening to you. They're not, you're like, well, I haven't done anything wrong. Why would they listen? It's not, living was doing something wrong. It's like in Goldfinger, he says to Goldfinger, would you expect me to talk? And he goes, no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. You understand? You can't ignore what I'm telling you. And I'm the wimp. I have the empathy. And I'm not bragging about who I am. I was offered to go to the Kissinger Group. I was offered Glenn Beck's job before he existed. I was offered everything. Everything. My dad was offered it too. They do all the testing. They know who they go after. I'm sitting here. I'm not with these assholes. I'm telling you about a public plan to brain damage you and get you and your family ready to die. And if you don't have the strength to understand a criminal group has hijacked our country and they hate Donald Trump because he's real and has a large phalanx of people in the government that realize what's happening and actually want to change this. That's why he's starting the vaccine investigation group. They already know it's there. They already know about the CDC documents 20 years ago, in 2000, or it was 17 years ago in 2000 that came out, where they were like, oh, this brain damaged millions. My God, we got to cover it up. And they have the CDC goes, we got to stop this. They didn't stop it. Even the head of the CDC wasn't in on this. They asked Dr. Salk and his main adjunct, this has been on PBS like 20-something years ago. We've played the clip. You can pull it up. And I'm not saying pull it up. We've played it 100 times. I want to play Bill Gates in a minute. And it's inventor of the polio vaccine admits it's for population reduction. He goes, we knew it had cancer virus. We knew a lot of it was live. We knew it was there. And we just said there's too many people. And they go, ha, 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 ha. I had, years ago, one of the inventors of a GMO potato, was making millions of dollars a year. He was a Pakistani guy, I forget his name, he was in London. And then I had on some of his other scientists on. One lady was from England, but they'd been working in Russia where they were doing the testing, and they found the potatoes were sterilizing all the mice. And then they got told, it's okay, there's too many people. And they were like, just shut up about it. You'll be taking, because they actually found out they were developing the potato and then they were grinding it down. And then they, for some reason, started just feeding it to mice that were in a separate experiment. They're like, oh my God, these mice are all sterile. They're like, just don't worry about it. Just keep your mouth shut. This is all over the world, people. Again, I told you global government was coming. I told you everything. Because they're so arrogant, they write books admitting how they're doing this to you. That's what's so frustrating. And then their argument is, well, Alex, you've told them and they don't care. See, well, you know what? We have told people, and now they do care. And people are waking up. People are getting involved. Good things are happening. Very exciting things are happening. And if people just finally really get how serious this is, decide they don't want to be part of it, expose it, and just en masse say, we're shutting down the aerosol geoengineering programs. We're shutting down the vaccines. And they'll go, oh my God, we'll all die of diseases. No vaccine that they've ever made in modern history for flu ever covered the flu. They admit that. The neurological disorders are all exploding, all of it. It's not by accident. It is basically a group of mad scientists that have decided to take full control of civilization and greedily cull everybody. And they see themselves as like dog breeders. Isn't it cute to have, say, a miniature dachshund, like one that runs around, Carl, that runs around the office. Is his name right, Carl? He's a pup. He's only been there a few weeks. To take a wolf and make that dog, and I'm not putting, our ancestors did this, thousands of puppies were bred, and then they keep one or two, breed those, and keep going for what they were looking for, but all the others got put in cages and put in the water, or their heads bashed in. So the globalist argument is, we're doing this to build something beautiful. That's evil to begin with, but let's just be honest about this and look at it. They're targeting all the smartest and best people, trying to cull them out as bad sons, as they call it in gardening, to get rid of their competition. So it's a level even worse. The elites don't even want to empower the species with all this control freak evil. In even their public literature, they say the species is ugly, done, failed. So they made us ugly, so then we would commit suicide and believe them and give up our free will. See, they said, oh, we're doing all this to make us beautiful and wonderful, but look at the elites. They're actually doing it because they believe their God has told them, this is their own writings, they've got to wipe all us out first, then they've got to beat the AI before they become the ascendant man. You're like, oh, that's 2001 Space Odyssey. Yeah, with one of their top initiates, Arthur C. Clarke, who actually wrote nonfiction articles admitting the whole plan. And see, that's what's frustrating here, ladies and gentlemen, is that really this evil globalist system, this spirit, needs us to accept we're going to kill ourselves, get a small number of the elite to believe they've got to kill everybody so they will ascend. But the big trick is the devil has to get them to agree to kill humanity so then they can actually then kill themselves. So humanity under free will was tricked into destroying ourselves. This is a psychic, interdimensional attack to kill humanity. I've analyzed it over every side, every angle, that no one's going to get the life extension. No one's going to get the power. No one's going to get to be a god. No one's going to get any of this under this. Everybody's going to die. They're going to kill everybody, including the elites themselves that aren't elite, a bunch of hunchback demons. The only way we're going to get the life extension, we're made in the image of God, folks, is to be good and to give it to everybody. A species that acts like this is not going to go to the next level. And this is the giant scam. It's the huge lie. Now, 99% of what I just told you is public and is admitted by the elites. The 1% is what I'm looking at and giving you the final analysis. You can speculate all day, but regardless, I'm going to tell you this again. It's peer pressure. It's manipulation. Why? When Western governments have been caught doing secret testing, lethal testing on foster kids, minorities, poor people in Appalachia, Peruvians, you name it, it's been done. Chemicals, biologicals, radiologicals. They're always testing scientists who are at the top of this thing. This is a mad scientist program. That's what globalism is. The Nazis were a mad scientist program of the US and England. Just look it up. Yeah, they gave lethal AIDS drugs, and that was the cover. They were giving pesticides to the kids to kill them. They'd take the toddler and say, let us kill your 7-year-old, or we'll take the toddler, and then they'd let them kill them. And again, the eugenicists did it. They said, well, we did this in New York to thousands of kids. They're black. They're not really humans, in their words. I don't agree with that. The news will take that out of context and say I said that. They'll, because I actually don't want to kill the black kids. Of course they're human. The point is that this is what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen. And then, oh, you're not just going to kill the black kids now, you're going to kill the white kids. We're all the same people. And it's all training a medical corps to carry all this out. Everybody thinks like special forces and, assassins and all these people are the top echelon. That's the echelon they control and hate and then inject with all the stuff to kill them. You think the medical personnel of the New World Order take any of this stuff? Oh, no. They're all committed to their plan, and they're the top of it. You know who David Rockefeller goes and gives awards to and freaks out over? And it's scientists and doctors and researchers. In fact, most of the top assassins are doctors and people. That's who runs this whole thing. And it's all medical professionals that are carrying it out, of course, for a greater good. And really what they are is a bunch of psychopathic killers that want to play God. And they themselves then end up getting fed on and destroyed. And there's all these echelons. And if you're somebody low level as a psychiatrist looking at the squalor, the dumbed downness, the zombie-like public, never given archetypes, never built up, never made strong, just wandering around mindlessly in a haze from watching TV from birth, you say, yeah, this is a dangerous horde, especially when the very globalists that helped create them is organizing them into giant armies to go destroy the middle class, the final link between the civilizations of this civilization that's being extracted, being strip-mined, being controlled, being manipulated, being brought down, and the breakaway globalist civilization. See? We're being extracted for this, but also made to collapse so we're not a threat to them as soon as we fall away. And here's the big key. If we're aware of this program, they'll never get away with it with 7.5 billion people. Just like if we were globalism or big banks being tax exempt or programs there to make us poor. All that's coming out. Le Pen looks like she's going to win next month. She's surging. All Wilders looks like he's going to win. All these other nationalists are winning. All of it, all of it, all of it, everywhere. And if you read Le Pen and all of them, oh, they know vaccines are bad. Wilders knows. They all know, folks. These are the people that know that don't want to be part of this. A lot of them are people that got offered to be in this thing and don't want to be part of it. But here's the thing. If the dumbed down masses aren't reached out to, and if those of us aware of this don't reach out to them, we're going to be forced to destroy them and the globalists. The globalists intend to have us pinned between them and the globalists and have us beg to be given entry into lower level globalist programs to be controlled and watched, not in the actual breakaway civilization with the anointed ones. Oh, yes. All the disgusting Madeleine Albrights and all that. Just all of them just openly anti-human, radiating selfishness and darkness and wickedness. I mean, as if those demonic hunchbacks are actually going to get paid off by their God. I mean, you're the biggest dumbasses I've ever seen, but I'm digressing. Let me hit some of the news here. The point is, Trump understands at a fundamental level, because patriots reverse engineered this and exposed it in the last few decades so that we would have a debate about where the world's going. They understand, even in many sectors of the global elite, their program's not going to get away with it now. So there's people hedging bets with nationalism and things that, okay, maybe we will empower humanity and export excess population to space, and okay, and maybe not. Okay, maybe we will share this all. So there's a major debate going on. And once we force a debate, once people don't care about stupid rock stars and movie stars and all this fake crap that's a diversion that they distract you with, once there's a real discussion about this, which is beginning to happen, there's no way they can win. Now, what's been done genetically, the GMO, the attempt by the elites to overtake the entire planet, not just our species, the true demonic energy of these people has already been turned loose, and it's going to be carnage. I mean, if we start turning the ship around now, we're still going to run into the iceberg sideways, just not head on. So we're trying to turn the ship right now. The iceberg's right here. We're still going to run into it. But if we know what we're hitting and what we're dealing with and we're aware of it, as we turn and slow down and have a softer crash landing, we've got a potential to salvage things. But we got to turn this thing all the way, folks. Maybe not hit the iceberg, but quite frankly, we're already hitting the iceberg. We're ramming into this thing. And again, this is not your regular show talking about baseball or Democrats making jokes. You wonder why Democrat news is so dumbed down? It's meant to dumb you down. It's meant to not just dumb down the info, but make it so cynical and stupid, it actually brain damages you. We're here covering the real information. This is not my opinion. And so just the medical tyranny, the positronic, the electromagnetic, the TVs, it's all admitted. It's crazy that it's wrecking people, that the brainwaves are lowering, that people are just turning off and dying. It's horrible to watch. And the sick argument is, well, the weaker people are being called off. Those that are resistant to this are going to actually, help people the future. Oh, that's another high-level lie, that actually this is a giant test and you're meant to metamorphosize under the pressure and join the elite. Now, I never believe that. That's another lie, folks, that, oh, we're doing this for the greater good, to be tough on humanity, because no. They're sabotaging every survival instinct, every instinct to truly be strong and transcend. They want to destroy everybody, including themselves. It's pure projection. I just had to come talk about this. I've got a lot of other news I want to hit. I'm going to cover more tomorrow, vaccines, 4 to 6 p.m. And I know you may say you know all about it, but we've got to cover all this and warn people, because we should get them back on. It's crazy. 3 times in the last 5 years, we've had nurses on, some by name, some by not name, where they go, okay, we never gave preemies till 6 years ago vaccines because a premature baby, a vaccine will kill them. Everybody knows that. Just like he didn't give pregnant women vaccines till 6 years ago, they, quote, changed the regulations from the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. They got rid of the Hippocratic Oath a decade ago. So now they just say, yeah, we do harm. And the bioethics board, these major university centers and medical centers, you might have 100 kids in the preemie ward. They come in, they say, all right, it's an order, give them shots. And sometimes 10 die a day when they do it. They got to put them on respirators. They got to do all this. And we have the nurses on going, yeah, they tell us you got to vaccinate them. It's like hepatitis, that's sexually transmitted. They don't even need it. Give them the shot. And then now it's so normalized, the nurses give them the shots, but then they still haven't told them, well, don't respirate. And they're like, oh, we're going to do it. And so the nurses go in and put respirators on and try to save them. Then they're just brain damaged. Or they've got, I mean, these people, I mean, my God, this is a Holocaust that is so ultra massive, and it's going on, and it's a fact, and nothing is done because at the top it's being manipulated and controlled towards a plan. And then you read their own documents and they admit they're involved in the social engineering. You can just search, hospitals, preemies stop breathing, die after taking shots. I mean, it's just crazy. And they know we're gaining the initiative against this medical tyranny. So that's just one area. Here's some of the other news. Oh, Stephen Hawking, we need a world government to stop the rise of dangerous artificial intelligence. So the very global government is racing for artificial intelligence, taking control, but he says, if it's even really him anymore, that we need global government to keep us safe. But there's no global government. Major party collapse creates European outbreak of populism. Yes, all over the world, humanity is rising. And you need to lobby Le Pen, Trump, all of them with this information. Tweet this video at Trump and his people. Force everyone you can to watch this information because this is an emergency transmission. Is America enriching the world at its own expense? That's global baloney. The Washington Post pushing world government, saying it's a good thing. No, we're enriching the globalists. And they admit world government is in trouble everywhere. But again, I thought world government didn't exist. Meanwhile, the communist Chinese that have one-child policies, forced abortion, they've killed 50 million of their own girls the last decade. They're exporting their men all over the world in an admitted plan. There's no women in China, so they're sending them to Africa and Latin America to colonize. Wow, talk about a social engineering program. Kill the women so there's no women at home, and then export your men and tell them like they're robots. It was a good article. People ask why I'm so excited. How could you not be excited covering topics like this? For all my foibles and problems, one good thing is I'm fundamentally upset, and that translates and telegraphs to people who aren't completely mentally dead yet or who haven't basically given up and lost their souls yet. There's a lot of people walking around, folks, that are dead already. They got a heartbeat, but they're just not there. And that's why they have no morals, and that's why they seem like, they're so sluggish and everything, because they're so lazy, they'd quit breathing if they could. They think breathing is hard. I'm serious. Yesterday's conspiracy theory is today's news. Decades-old information being released by media as if it were breaking. Great article by Anthony Afridia that everybody should read, where he just goes, InfoWars is right about this, InfoWars is right about that, InfoWars broke this. We didn't know. Again, it was all there. Young voters fueling European populism led by Le Pen and Wilders, the young people. Generation Z and millennials that aren't completely brain damaged are waking up. That's why the globalists are so, and I can't warn you enough. A large portion of our listeners are people that thought I was a joke and didn't believe me, or folks that just never heard the show that have had, I know personally, 3 people who were so hurt by this they won't even go on air, who lost their young children taking vaccines. Personally. I know dozens of people, but not all the time. Again, I know 3 people I see every week who lost kids to vaccines. They admitted it. I mean, you give them the vaccine, they're dead a day later, they're dead a week later. You understand, this isn't a game. My mother was almost wrecked by a flu shot. My grandmother, they admit, was given polio by the 2nd round of polio vaccine. She got the strain they injected her with a week later. That's the incubation period. It's thousands of articles admitting they give people Bill and Melinda Gates vaccine, polio, and they get polio, but they call it paralysis a week later. These assholes have said they've eradicated polio, but then there's neurological disorders everywhere. They're out giving it to you. I went to a pediatrician for my children. I Googled the top pediatrician in Austin 14 years ago when my son was about to be born. And I chose this top guy, and I went to him by the time my daughter was born a few years later, and he took me in, and he had this, and he's retired now. I won't say his name because it was in confidence, and he's grabbed him by the arm, and he said, I'm going to tell you something. You're right. I've seen your show. And they're just a place that doesn't make you take them, okay? Not but a few in Austin where they don't bully you into the vaccines. And he grabbed my arm and he said, you know, as part of continuing education, doctors every few years are supposed to volunteer. Well, I volunteered at the first day of school a couple years ago in East Austin. He goes, let me tell you what we gave them. We gave them 1964 oral polio, Alex. He goes, you're right. You're right. It's live. All of it's been banned since the 1970s. It's all got live virus in it. And he was grabbing my arm and he was like, he knew all the medical terms. It's in stasis, Alex. It's in stasis. It's on purpose. And he's like, and then he was like, he's under mind control. He goes, but don't you ever tell my name. And I said, whoa, dude, I already know that. I didn't know you were currently giving it, but I went in search engine and they're doing it all over. That's their special brew. Little kids in East Austin, here's your thing. And he was like, what the hell is this? 1960s polio vaccine with SV40 in every deal. See, but you know what? What are you? If you're a doctor that runs the biggest, you know, at the time, pediatric thing in Austin. You got, 10 doctors or more under you. You're in Westlake. And you're just sitting there noticing that all the wealthy and upper middle class come in. They're not getting their shots. I've had 3 kids, and the nurses always pressure me, and after they go, I watch your show, I know they just told me to, nobody's got them. The kids die after we give them the shot. Like, why don't you do something? And when you're having your kid, they sit there and like, oh, would you take this file downstairs for me, hun? You go out and they ask your wife, does he beat you? Do you have enough money in the health department? Because if they don't get to kill your kid or brain damage them, and they don't even want to be part of this, but this is the medical system. They've got degrees. This is what they do. If they're going to work there, they've got to do this. And I can't tell you, I recently ran into some pediatricians and obstetricians, and it was a good thing. They were shaking my hand. They were getting pictures. It was like I was a rock star. And they go, you're right, you're right, you're right. Keep doing it, keep doing it. And they had tears in their eyes because they know. See what happened? Your whole program's blown, assholes, to the New World Order. It's already happening. So don't think you're not going to get caught, and don't think you're going to not get brought to justice. For the first time ever, news about Bill Gates is getting taken off the internet everywhere. Just like that famous 60 Minutes interview when George Soros said, yeah, I was proud working for the Nazis and all that. Now let's go ahead, since we mentioned it, the Sanjay Gupta, Bill Gates. He's done this in a whole bunch of interviews where he says, we've got to help save kids and reduce population. Oh, and reduce population. It's not a Freudian slip. You can go find him on Bill Maher saying, I want to reduce population. His dad headed Planned Parenthood. IBM set him up as an antitrust front company. And that's why he's all tax exempt. He's made $100 billion extra since he went tax exempt, more money he ever made. He's a total jerk. That's not even a good enough word for Bill Gates. And he thinks you're dumb. He thinks you can't go look this up. And God, I've seen him in the photos delivering the oral vaccine. They claim it's the modern one. You can pull up Bill Gates delivers vaccines, and he'll just be sitting there with little kids just going, she just had that one for you. He'll just go all day, oh, children, help you. And they add sterilants to the vaccines. The UN's been caught. The tetanus shot's the one you got to watch. They add a female hormone to it that's in the second trimester and causes women to become have miscarriages at the second trimester. I mean, my God, they radiated all these foster kids. Everybody knows about the secret testing. Well, that's since the 70s. What do you think's going on now, folks? But they've got the hospitals where they cover it up. And now Bill Gates says we need a world government. Chelsea Clinton was going to head it up, a world medical government to forcibly inoculate everybody. And he's coming out with all these fruits and vegetables that have vaccines in them, pharmacological, where you can't even escape getting away from it. And again, he and Oprah Winfrey meet in secret to discuss how to carry out population control and population reduction. Just look at him. Blow up the picture of that guy. The selfishness, the greed. When they blocked industrialization of the third world in the 50s, the Royal Commission 49 admitted the plan so that we'd have an overblown population to exploit, because it is too big in many areas. But instead of industrializing them, and they're just innovating to zero. Yeah, zero population. My God. He says zero growth, but the equations actually he did in front of TED TV was zero. So, and by the way, the reason he speaks at these events and admits what he's doing, but very veiled, lightly veiled, is that it's a cult. The biggest church in the world, folks, is the scientists. And they see us as unwashed, and so everyone needs to know this. And they know that the higher educated counties in New York, Texas, and other areas, California, Oregon, Washington, I mean, in the super rich areas, you've got like 90% not taking vaccines. Well, of course they don't. Again, their rule is this has to all be basically admitted where you can find out for yourself. I got some other things to hit, but China, run by the globalists, is openly calling for nuclear war with the United States because Trump dare not let them take over the islands and take over the South China Sea. This is all being done to put pressure on America. And Trump knows this, and we have to get more messages to Trump, more support to Trump. Of course, he's not talking to mainstream media now because they're not real media. They're the false reality, like Jesse James said in the studio. They're the false reality. They're the synthetic. They're the virtual reality media. They're the world pulled over our eyes to blind us from the truth. So, how can I not sit here and rant and warn you all day? That's why people saying, oh, good job, or oh, you're great. Good job when they're running around with fluoride and chemicals in the food and water, turning the average person who would have had a normal IQ into basically a functioning retard. And of course, political correctness, don't say retard, just turn everybody into one. Again, attack the language, don't communicate. Make the globalists the ones that control the language. You get from them what you're supposed to use in language. No, I'll use the real language that I want to use, not what you use. And real language is what I choose to research and what I choose to use. Alternative facts to your absolute known certified lies. And so Trump now is not talking to the media. He's totally disconnected from them because he knows they're in the news going, anger mounts over Sessions firing 48 or whatever it is U.S. attorneys. Obama fired 99 the first week he was in. And they said, well, we kept waiting for an announcement we'd be fired, and then the announcement came, we were fired. Again, that shows the deception. Administrations always get rid of most of the U.S. attorneys. In fact, less than 50 is not even that big a number. So you read the whole CNN article, anger mounts over handling of U.S. attorney filings. Everything is about this. And then it says, well, it is customary to fire almost everybody, but they kept waiting for the announcement they'd be fired until the announcement came they were fired, and that was outrageous. And you're like, that makes no sense. That's a clear lie. It's like saying up is down, down is up. But that's the point. They put out garbage to confuse you and basically create artificial mental illness. They admit this. It's just like the headlines you see, confusion over Trump and the Obamacare plan. He said, I want repeal plans. I want to see them. I want it from Congress. Congress is supposed to do it. And he says, yeah, Ryan's is better than Obama's in some cases, but I like Rand Paul's too. Let's have a debate about it. He's not the one that's supposed to say specifically the bill until we see a bunch of versions. That's how it used to work with presidents. That's what the executive's supposed to do. But they play these games and they talk to you like you're a moron. Look at this. Exclusive. Elite donors of jailed SJW has discovered. Special report. Within hours of this report being published, complaints were filed to remove it from YouTube. We found out big globalists, the university, you name it, were bailing out the students that were out attacking people. We already knew that, but here it is. Day Without Woman supporters got $246 million from Soros just for the last demonstrations you saw. These are actually Islamification events, and the women are in these as big Islamification events calling for Islam. I mean, it's just, you talk about committing suicide in the West. Germany sugarcoats axe attack. They now are saying they're not going to call it a terror attack or a rampage when a guy runs around screaming Allah Akbar, attacking people. You just do document cam in here, guys. Yeah, there it is. Just attacking people with hatchets. 4chan sabotages LaBeef, however you say his name, latest anti-Trump experiment showing amazing human intelligence, triangulating that and then finding out where it was in Tennessee and then taking the flag down as an act of resistance. Yeah, we got the thinkers, they got the victims and the psychopaths. Let's continue. Again, China warns of nuclear first strike in response to THAAD deployment. U.S. must pay the price. That's Infowars.com. Quoting the Global Times and the Communist Chinese People's Daily. U.S. preparing for war, 2017 defense budget, passes intentions. Look at this little piece of mainstream media disinfo. Wiretap data used in inquiry of Trump aides, January 20th. We covered it at the time. Then here they are a few days ago, last week, Trump offering no evidence of wiretaps. Again, I just thought I'd show you that. And the CIA National Review was so upset when their own reporter did that, they threatened to fire him and used some other fact that there was another headline online they had that was different than the paper, changed that and had him apologize. You go, that doesn't make sense. Exactly. There's hundreds of articles in the New York Times, the Washington Post from a month ago, hundreds, saying that they had communiques and they had intercepts and that they had the transcripts of General Flynn. And they said, release them. And they said, well, okay, it's him saying I can't talk about sanctions, but I'll set it up with the president who's supposed to talk about sanctions. Remember, they had all that intercepts, but nobody was listening. And you go, that's a really dumb lie. They dumb it down to make you just give up. They know your brain will adapt to lies if they're shoveled at you. They're trying to get you to adapt to servitude. You must not. You've got to resist like we've done. And we've had huge effects. We've changed the world. We've gotten stronger because we decided to live and not support death. You can do it too, folks. If they destroy us, shut me down, it doesn't matter. Just keep going. We're not going to lose. We're going to win. Already look at their whole systems shattered by a 1% resistance right now. Devastated. We go up to 10%, it's all over. We're so close, they're panicking. And they should. You look at Bill Gates and you look at Ted Turner and you look at Oprah Winfrey and you look at people like Madeleine Albright. Of course, hunchback, demonic, hate-filled entities want to destroy you and your family. My God, because they hate you because you're good. They can see you spiritually, and they won't rest till you're dead. You know that in your gut, but you also know it from the proof. Why would these elites throughout history use human sacrifices, murder people, kill the strongest, kill the best, like the Aztecs did? Did you know that they've dug people up from 2,000 years ago in the valley where the Mexico City is today, and the average person was 5'6", 5'7"? That was big in Europe at that time. The average male is like 5'1", 5'2" there now. They sacrificed everybody that was tall. And it was because the priest class didn't like strong peasants. They had the same crap in Europe. Folks, once you understand all this, but you see, the elites thousands of years ago just saw somebody who was tall and wanted to kill him. At least the Romans wanted to breed with you if you were tall and strong. Oh, the Vikings did. What the hell does this thing kill anybody that's strong or tall or good? See, this is a sickness. This is demonic. And the Romans had their own problems drinking out of lead-lined containers while they were so warlike and crazy. Lead will make you do that. But the Germans, they were like, bring us people that are whatever. We don't care. Bring them in. We'll breed with them. Let's continue, ladies and gentlemen. They just wanted to be strong, see? They didn't want to be weak. They didn't want to die and roll over. Let's talk about some, look at this BS. FBI has records of Trump trickster Roger Stone communicating with Russians behind DNC Guccifer 2.0. And it was in a chat thing on some major website, just talking about news. I mean, we've talked to, quote, Guccifer 2.0. We've talked to DC Leaks. And I tell people, that's a spoof of Guccifer. That's just the feds wanting to tie us into some investigation. So we send back emails saying, we understand that this is probably the feds trying to tie us into something, Just go, just don't give your kids vaccines. Just, you know what I mean? Just, But I know a lot of FBI agents used to not believe us, but they got brain damaged kids or dead kids now. That'll get you. I don't mean that sarcastically, man. I'm real sorry you had to have your kids die before you woke up to this. And that's the thing that I've been reminded of over the years, that this is going on. And this is happening, and this is serious, and this is real. These people will kill you. They'll kill you and your family. They already have killed billions of people. They mean business, so you might want to wake up to it. And I get we'd probably even more overpopulated if they weren't doing this, but they're trying to kill the smartest and best people. Why not just educate poor people, give them good jobs, and then incentivize them to have 2 kids? No, you just incentivize to have 10 kids, and then that's more people to kill or more third world populations to use against the West? God, you're sick. It's total greediness, folks. It's total will to total power. Infowars.com, Trump's first 50 days. It's all really important. U.S. job pay shows solid gains in Trump's first full month, Bloomberg had to admit. Amazing. U.S. debt decreasing by more than $60 billion since Trump inauguration 51 days ago. Burst in animal spirits, jobs and wages. The head of Goldman Sachs has to admit that they can't stop the Trump surge, though they're trying. 40+% drop in illegals coming across the border in the last 50 days, according to Border Patrol. Record number employed in history now. Oh, I love Amal Clooney. Look at this article. The wife of George Clooney went to the UN and said, oh, help the UN move in against ISIS and all this stuff. Is she a useful idiot, not knowing the globalists run ISIS and Al-Qaeda? Or knowing her husband attacked Trump for all this? Or just knowing which way the tide's going, so wants to sound like a hero? Look at that. Look at that. So again, Clinton tried to block Trump, block his initiative. I get these emails, I see comments on InfoWars. Oh, Trump's got Marines and Rangers. You know, that I knew months ago that we told you about it. It wasn't a secret, but I guess the mainstream media now told you. Have gone into Syria with Russia's blessing and are knocking out the final strongholds of John McCain's precious Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, ISIS rebels. And then the media spins it, oh, look, he's warmongering. No, this is actually getting rid of the outside invasion force that Obama and Hillary sent in. Trump's knocking it out. That was a General Flynn plan. And that's what's got them so pissed off. So no, it's not warmongering for Trump to destroy the Saudi Arabian-backed force that our traitorous government helped insert to destroy Syria and create another failed state. That's not war to end the war. Unbelievable. Trump was against the first Iraq war, but the left wasn't. Were you dumbasses? No, because it just feels too good to be a bunch of fascists, just like the Republican leadership. But the good news is humanity's awakening everywhere. Here's the bottom line. I'm going to let the crew go have some time with their families now. We've been on the air, what, 45 minutes? Longer? We somehow couldn't get on Facebook today with the live feeds. We're going to upload this. Do I have to tell you should share the link? Because they've got us blocked every other way. We're just trying to reach people with this. This is real information. And you ignore this at your peril. You're not fulfilled when you watch TV and go to movies all day and just try to get drunk and don't care about other people. This is the giant animating contest of liberty. And I know our regular listeners care and are involved, and I salute you and I thank you. Without you, we wouldn't even have this speech yet. But Trump knows about the technologies, the life extension. He knows about the eugenics. He knows about the soft kill. He knows about this program. And if we give him support and expose it, and if he can get his vaccine commission exposing all this in, they have the CDC documents. Congress has it. It's all right here. I've covered it. If we can do that, we have the technology to fix the planet, move off world, and really go to the next level. But a bunch of greedy people don't want the general public to have access to this. And there's so much that God gave us through nature, that God gave us through Mother Earth. Everything the enemy's doing can be countered by Mother Nature, by what God gave us. And in closing, please spread the video, spread this live link, spread this archive, be aggressive, because this is history. I can't come up with the right headline. You know, the elite have been caught publicly poisoning the public. Everybody knows that now. Again, this is not my opinion. I wish to hell it was every minute. I don't want to be right about this. But you have to take it personal when they kill somebody's kid. They wish they could kill your kid. You got to take it personal when they brain damage somebody, when they hurt your grandma with a polio vaccine that gives her polio. You got to get pissed, man. If your neighbor slights you, you get pissed off, or they got a better car, you get pissed off. Who cares about that? Their success is your success. Get upset about the Rockefeller Foundation, IBM, Cold Springs Harbor, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. These are all real things, man. Please, for God's sakes. And no, we're beginning to turn the tide as people all throughout the government. The most bullied group out there, giving hundreds of vaccines, is the military. The officers don't take any of them. And they do it actuaried out to spike the weapons so that when you retire, get out, you die of cancer or earlier. And that's a fact. They've given our troops all these illegal vaccines that are experimental. You can't force experimental vaccines on the military. I don't care what their contract says. That's a fact. And I've been involved for 20 years at every level with the medical doctors exposing that they give people experimental anthrax shots, and sometimes out of 20 people they gave, 2 would die. Then they give more watered down. There's no way to get a cure for anthrax through an inoculation. That's science. Anthrax probably isn't even of this world. Most scientists believe anthrax is probably how life got here, if you don't believe in God scenario. Do you even know what anthrax is, folks? They're injecting millions of veterans with troops with anthrax to then take their blood later in big secret projects. Just like I told you 20 years ago, all blood's taken at birth and put in a Pentagon UN database, and then people sued in Austin and in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and it was national news that the military was getting secret blood samples of children nationwide for a giant DNA database. We broke that because a nurse at Fort Sam Houston told me about it in 1997. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not all they do. They inject the troops in mass mutagenic tests to see how the anthrax mutates in the cells and what happens in the bodies, and if it comes out or the body's ever able to encapsulate it. Because in that encapsulation, it's the same thing. They found this woman in the 40s, you can look up her name, who had the immortal cell line. And now they found other ones where you cannot kill these cells unless you put them in a blast furnace. They just don't die. You can put cells in a petri dish and they're alive in 100 years. This is the real fountain of youth, but they're testing it on us. Anthrax is basically a plant, and I don't have a biology degree, but I've read it all. You can look up anthrax. Just go to Wikipedia, which most of the stuff's disinfo, but the Wikipedia is good. It's got all the links to the documents and government admissions. There's a process where this basically bacteria form of a plant form of bacteria is dry or dying or freezing, and it folds in on itself in this process and shrinks down, and it basically eats itself. It starts to divide, then it eats the other side and then turns into a crystal. And it can live, they believe, 1,000,000 years. 1,000,000 years. And they think asteroids hitting Mars back when it had water, they've now proven that, basically threw this up into space dust, and this is the main theory of how life got here. So anthrax, they believe, is the oldest organism on Earth. And a lot of this is classified, but I've done deep research in the public data bank to actually confirm what I was told by insiders about a decade ago. And anthrax is probably the oldest life form on Earth. And so they're injecting millions of people with it, knowing their body can't get an immunity to something that's dormant and that's something it can't even defeat. That's total horse manure. They're injecting you with the oldest life form on the earth to cause mutations in humans. And it just goes on, ladies and gentlemen. And again, that's just one area. Look up immortal cell lines. I forget the lady's name. The first one they found, like the cancer killed her in 2 weeks. And they went and got the cancer, and they were like, oh my God, this is the ultimate weapon. And then they took her, they found those cancers that were in her, put into viruses, and then injected into the public, where it even kills your kids. You're not supposed to be able to kill a kid with a cancer. 60 years ago, there was one kid that had cancer. They'd fly all over the country, doctors to see it. Now it's walk down your street. Again, but within these, they believe testing on us, they're going to find the life extension. So, I felt like I had to come in and rant about this today. I covered a lot of it. The good news is humanity's awakening. We have populists that know what's going on, who aren't anti-human. And a lot of the top elites are actually now joining us because they realize this is so hateful and evil. The globalists, if there was 100 globalists left, they're going to all kill each other for power. This is not a good plan. This is really evil. It's a twisted plan launched in England in 1856 by Galton, adopted by the British royal family by 1880s. And it's just, we have to oppose this, okay? This is not a good plan. This is really evil, and we don't want to do this. It's a world government in Bill and Melinda Gates' own mission to carry out forced inoculations and a medical tyranny. I've told you since I made Endgame, they're forming world government to carry out the medical tyranny. They've now announced it. And again, 10, 15 years ago, maybe 80% of this was admitted. Now it's like 98%. It's just crazy. They believe humans are obsolete. We're not. You don't speak for us. And you're like, well, what is it, aliens? The globalists believe they're a breakaway species. I don't know all that stuff, okay? I know they operate like an outside group here terraforming to get rid of the population. I don't know the term, it should be invented, like a genetic terraforming. What would terraforming be or geoengineering be? But if you're an outside group, it's terraforming, where you're genetically engaged in a extermination of the planet's normal biological sphere and a high-tech override that could only be off-world. I mean, it's a big plan, folks. I'm just telling you. And so I've got to be honest with you about this. And even MSM won't attack me on this because they don't want to give attention to it, folks, because they know that's what it is. So whether interdimensionally, like the Christians say, the devil is transmitting this info to his minions to then construct it in the real world, because humans are master builders, made in the image of God, or the elites, humans are so advanced, there's just a twisted genetic side of us that manifests this parasite system, or it is some off-world group in this dimension doing it. I don't know. But the analysis of it is clear. It's exterminist, it's anti-human, it's trying to hurt the very best of us, and it's destroying the planet itself while they claim they're the leaders trying to protect the planet. I want to thank the crew for coming in, Infowars.com/show. Where you can find our feeds. We're getting censored more and more. If human activity, if human resistance will just get the videos, the articles, and keep hammering them, we will defeat them. We're trying to force them out early with censorship they were already planning, so there could be a mass awakening we believe will happen. And then they're starting to take the bait. They're also trying to inoculate people, taking stuff we do that's fun, putting it together to psychologically give people a first exposure to InfoWars so they see it as comical, so that when they hear the more serious information, they've got a resistance built up to it of cognitive dissonance. And this is all mass Stockholm syndrome, folks. The people that are delivering the system are involved in mass Stockholm. We have biome defense with the pesticides in the food and water. The herbicides, most of the gut is dead, the gut flora. Bill Gates is obsessed with this, of course, because they're basically deploying it against us. But biome defense is the best probiotic we could come up with, the decades of research. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com. It's 10% off, and when you sign up for auto ship, an additional 10% off. Free shipping runs until next Tuesday, and we have the new product that unfortunately is going to sell out. I wish I would have calculated better and ordered a lot more, but then when I order too much, people don't seem to buy it. Myco ZX, anti-fungus, yeast system for flushing out the guts. This is probiotic to the next level. Absolutely herbal, powerful, super strong. At current rates, that's going to sell out by Monday. 5-star reviews, InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. And everything we do, water filters are the best filters that I use. Cutting out the glyphosates, the poisons of the water. The heirloom non-GMO seeds, all about life, the fun of a garden, getting back to that with your family. T-shirts about promoting free speech, self-defense, pro-human. Nutraceuticals, supplements, the very best. It's what we do. You fund us. I want to thank you for your support and getting these great products. InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. And please, again, take this archive as soon as we go from live to archived and send this out, because if you do it, I love how the listeners come up with headlines that are better when you post it on your own Facebooks and Twitter and your own YouTube channels. Like this will get maybe 300,000 views on my YouTube, I guess. And then somebody else will post it and has like 2-3 million. You are the resistance. Or do your own videos. Or go get vaccines at the store. Ask for the inserts. They got to give them to you by law. Not their fact sheet that says nothing's ever been hurt. No one ever got hurt. Maybe a sore shoulder. Safe and effective. Say, I want the actual insert. Do your own YouTubes reviewing vaccines. Just resist. You don't have to do it all yourself. A little bit together adds to the whole thing, and we don't have to be part of this mass extermination that if we ever truly get it out in the open, just like so much is coming out in the open, we're going to turn the tide on this whole thing. So that's the bottom line. Stop letting these corrupt, psychopathic, inbred, elite guilds play us like animals. Break through the control grid and realize what's happening. All right, that's an hour plus transmission. 4 to 6 p.m. again tomorrow. I'll be live in studio. Infowars.com/show. Affiliates around your area. People ask, why don't you list all your affiliates? Because people are like, I hear you here. I hear you in LA. I hear you in New York. We don't list the new affiliates for a couple years, and it worked. We went from, I always wondered we couldn't go over 100 to 60 or so, because those were the hardcore stations that wouldn't be threatened out of doing it or boycotted. As soon as I stopped listing the new ones, The network thought I was crazy. They didn't get all the organized crime against them, basically, to be knocked off the air. But we're on a lot of cities now. 50,000 waters, you name it. All sorts of great Fight Club level rebellion going on, where I found on some of the biggest networks out there, station managers will put us on at night or whatever, and then flip it off once a month when one of the big guys comes to town. I mean, it's just crazy what's going on to get this out. And every person you warn, every person you reach is going to change the world into somebody you might save. And even if they end up killing most of us in the end, as long as people make it through this and this regime fails and this globalist program is defeated, humanity's going to make it to the next level. But you've got to realize how real this is. Please. People are like, yeah, Alex Jones is right all over the place. They're like, well, they are listening on the phones and the things. Why? He was right. How did he know? And God, he was right about world government. They were calling for it on the news tonight. And they were saying families are bad at my school. And they were saying, you know, they're going to ban Christianity. And they were saying forced abortion. These people think you're stupid. They've written it all. They think you're dumb. They think you won't go look up. Oprah Winfrey saying they should get rid of 80% of the people. How about she gets out of the way? I'm not against your billions, your big palaces, and your jet copters, but listen, you big fat pig that runs around selling race garbage all day, you're attacking the human race, you demon. And Bill Gates, she's the only black lady letting those Nazi meetings. And let me tell you, they're beyond Nazi. That word gets overused. IBM. And the people Bill and Melinda Gates are involved in Cold Springs Harbor, and the meetings they have up there with Oprah Winfrey that are admitted. Oh, at Cold Springs Harbor. Cold Springs Harbor created Adolf Hitler. Hitler was an idiot, moron, totally set up. They wanted to cull the Germans. They killed 21 million of them thanks to that guy, and 20 million Russians. Hitler was a horrible, degenerate, filthy, scumbag loser. And I get to have the Forward and all these parasite groups that feed off Jews and try to keep Jews and their eugenics model, where 100,000+ Jews were radiated, you know, part of the ringworm program because they were dark-skinned and Sephardic and all this other evil crap. They say, I like Hitler. My lawyer says I can win a lawsuit. But you know what? You're not worth it because you're already a joke and a fraud and nobody believes you. Yeah, this isn't a Nazi conspiracy, though. People always say, oh, talking about Hitler. I'm sick of hearing about the Nazis. Yeah, it's worse than that. Hitler was a test case. All right, Infowars.com/show. Spread that link. Sign up for our free newsletter where you can bypass the censors. Infowars.com/newsletter. And get aggressive. And people think it's hard to be involved. It's hard to have energy. It's hard to care. That's BS. The animating contest of liberty is everything. When you start actually caring about other people, and not having it siphoned off by fake globalist charity stuff that's meant to divert you, like giving money to the Clintons or whatever. When you actually get involved in the animating contest of liberty, the windows, the doors of perception will open. We're going to win this war. We're turning the tide like I told you we would. It's going to get hard, and it's going to get a lot more serious as we go into the future, as this event horizon approaches at this intersection. But we're already gaining mass and strength towards the conflicts of the future that already we're getting close to humanity surviving through the next level. I know it. I can intellectually see it, but more importantly, in my spirit, I can feel it and know it. What matters is we get across the goal line and defeat these people and not blow the planet up and not let them genetically mutate everything. They're in a race to make things so wrecked that we don't even remember what was there so that they fully control everything. That's the words of Monsanto. They said, of course we're contaminating everything, where there'll be nothing you can do and we'll own everything. And then they have courts rule they contaminate all known corn species, and then they own it and fine people that have 5,000-year-old corn strains in Latin America? No!